Hey guys, welcome back. So, this guy right here, Artormata, I hope I'm saying that right, 199143 asked me to make a video on the Jedi, specifically dealing with their threading components of the library. He wants the JV thread and the JV management thread and the thread timer all covered in this video. So I'm going to do that for you guys today. So let me just close that out. And then I'm also going to go a little above and beyond. I'm going to show you guys one extra component that I have used in the past, which is from the Indy library. It's the Indy threading component, and I'm also going to show you guys an added bonus component, and I believe it's called BMDthread by Mitov software. I'm not going to show an example of how to use that one because it comes with a demo anyway. If you guys ask me to, I will, but until further notice, I won't. I'll just simply show you guys where you can download it. It's completely free. I don't know about open source. I think it is. I think they give you all the Pascal files with it, so I think it's open source. But in any case, let's go ahead and get started. So basically, what we have here to start with, we're going to start out with the threading component, which is part of the Indy library, which is this one right here. I'm not going to cover any of the thread pooling stuff. I might do that in a different video. But we are going to cover thread pooling in the Jedi because the other thing that this guy wanted me to do actually comes with its own thread management pool component, and we're going to cover that later. But for now, let's go ahead and get started on the basic stuff here. So we're going to grab ourselves a progress bar, throw it down, and there's our threading component. And we're going to grab ourselves a button. So we're going to throw a button down on the form. We're going to put that there, make that evenly match up as best we can, drag all this stuff over where it's nice and pretty, and pull this on up. And then we're going to make this caption say IidThreadComponent example. Now what we're going to do is we're going to theme our application. So we're going to go to Project Options, wait for the window to pop up, and then we're going to theme it. So let's go to Appearance, scroll on down. Tell you what, let's look around for something like Aqua Graphite. That looks good enough to me. And then what we'll do is change the caption of the button to Start. So let's change the caption to Start, all caps, and then we're going to drag this up here and just kind of keep it up out of the way. So at this point, we're pretty much done with the graphical interface. We're not going to do the whole label showing how many threads on this one. It's just too easy. This stuff is too easy, and I just want to show you how to actually use the components. Now guys, I will expand on this and show you everything in the last example, because in the last example we're going to be talking about thread pooling. And being able to actually make multiple threads happen at once, and then use a thread manager to actually be able to terminate all threads at the same time and stuff like that. And in that example, we are going to go all out and actually make multiple threads happening, at least two, just to show how it works. So anyway, moving on. So on this, essentially what you want to do is click on the threading component. It's already defaulted with all this stuff. The stop mode does need to be set to terminate, which it already is, so that's good. So just make sure it's just completely defaulted, okay? However, to get this thing rolling, we do want this loop parameter to be true, but we're going to leave it false because we're going to do everything in code, okay? So what we'll do is we're going to click on the Start button and go to our code window. So basically what we want to do is reset the progress bar to 0 in case user wishes to rerun the thread over again. So self.progressbar 1.position is equal to 0, not 0, and then we want to disable the button while the thread is active. Self.button1.enabled is equal to false. Now we're going to pop on down here and actually get started on our stuff. Now, this next point is kind of pointless, but I'm going to do it anyway. We're going to set up the thread params and start it in memory. So self.IidThreadComponent1.thread name will be This can be whatever you want. And you can call this later. I'm just leaving it whatever you want. It doesn't matter. You can change it. Here, I'll put something a little more meaningful. Process it. There, that's something better, right? Now, you can call this thread by name at any point in your program. I'm not doing it. It's just too simple. This application is just too basic to even be messing with stuff like that. But I want you guys to know that you do have the power with this component to be able to name the thread whatever you so desire and call it later and make it do stuff in memory. It's really crazy stuff. So I'm going to do self.IidThreadComponent.loop is Boolean. We're going to turn that to true, so it's a constant looping thread. And then we're going to start the thread, self.IidThreadComponent.start. And it's that simple. The thread is now running in memory, and we're good to go. So let's go back to the thread. It's got some events on it. So make sure you click on the thread, go to events, and then you want to look for its on-run event procedure. So guys, just to kind of go over this a little bit more with you, these events, we're going to be messing with two different events during this application's runtime, and that is going to be the on-run and the on-terminate. So run is while the thread is running. This is the code that's basically the execution code of the thread. So while the thread's running, the on-run event is handling everything inside the thread, inside RAM and memory. And after the thread is completed and it gets terminated, the on-terminate event is fired, and we're able to do something, say, after the thread is done. So in this example, when we click Start, we disable the button, and the thread goes to the background, and it starts processing the progress bar all the way to 100%. When it's finished, the thread will call its terminate event procedure, and the on-terminate event procedure will re-enable the button so the user can re-click the button. You see what I mean? So on this on-run event procedure, let's go to the thread. So when we click Start, we start the thread, and the thread starts, and now we're inside the thread code. So this is the thread code, okay? So inside of this, basically what we want to do is we want to make the progress bar go up. So, but we want it to do it in an animated fashion. We don't just want it to go and be 100% immediately. That would just be like absolutely retarded. So let's go sleep and make it sleep a little bit. Let's do half a second. That's fine with me. Then we can say if progress bar one.position is greater than or equal to 100, just for the shit's sake of it, then we'll say self.IidThreadComponent1.stop, and that will stop the thread. So when the progress bar does reach a value of 100, which is what we were trying to get to in the first place, then the thread will stop itself, okay? And remember, by calling the stop parameter, it actually also underlyingly calls the terminate procedure. So by calling stop the thread, you're literally saying, hey, look, I don't care what you're doing. I don't care how long it takes. I want you to die. That's basically what you're saying to the thread, okay? So the thread will basically kill itself out. So now we'll say self.progressbar1.position is it going to be equivalent to self.progressbar1.position plus 10, because we're stepping it by 10. And I'll separate that out where it looks a little nicer for you guys. And that's it, guys. That is the full code right there for the whole thread. And then whenever the progress bar does get to 100%, it won't execute this line of code because it'll just kill itself out. And when it does kill itself out, the terminate procedure is going to be called. So down here, we're going to go to on terminate. And then on this terminate, we're going to say self.button1.enabled : equals true. And it's that simple. Now, in case you guys are wondering, you're probably sat here like, whoa, but Bitmaster, on the last video, you said if you don't call synchronize whenever you're messing with GUI elements and stuff, you're going to cause freezes, errors, and all kinds of crap. That's true. But I found out that the Indy component, the threading component in the Indy library, handles it for you, like inside of its own code. So the people that wrote this, I believe Remy LeBeau or whatever his name is, whoever was responsible for writing the Indy library in general, actually thought ahead on this, and you don't have to worry about it. So if you're inside of the thread components on execute or on run event procedure, anything you put in here automatically gets synchronized. How cool is that? So you actually get to skip a step. It makes it even more simplified, doesn't it? And the terminate procedure, believe it or not, this is actually outside of the thread anyway. So this wouldn't even matter because the thread is here, not here. So when the thread dies, this is just a simple event, which happens outside of a thread. So it doesn't even come into the fray. You know what I mean? So guys, let's see if we might be able to give this a run and just see if it works. So let me put the position of this. Let me go down to position. And I'm going to put this in the screen center, and I'm going to run this program, and we're going to see what happens. So I'm going to click Start, and as you can see, you can move it around. It's beautiful. There's no laggy, no shaking, no nothing. It's perfect, and it works. And there you have it. I'll click Start again just to show you guys it works. See, there you go. There's a multi-threaded application. You can make as many of these threads as you'd like. You can create them in code. You can drag and drop them from here down here. You can do it any way you like, but it's going to work the same every way. It's absolutely perfection. So, I mean, you can use these threads for many different things. This is just a basic example. You guys could take this as far as you'd like. I mean, for example, if you're trying to develop a screen capture software to be able to, like, capture someone's screen and send it over a socket connection, you could use this to use the scan line function and be able to detect changed pixels in a very, very fast way. So that way you send over the socket only the changed pixels of the person's screen. That's a better example of using multi-threaded concurrent library programming or whatever. You could do that really, really fast and save up like a buffer and put it all into a buffer stream and send it over the socket, or do some crazy stuff like that. Or maybe you could even use multi-threaded file sharing, or file sending. Chunk up files into different chunks, send them over the socket, or even save multiple files to the hard drive using multi-threading. As long as the hard drive speed can handle it, you can do it. All right, so I'll leave it at that. We're going to move on to the next. I'll run it one last time, just one last quick time. Click Start. Boom, the thread is running in the background. It does not affect the GUI in any way. It's perfect, and it works. Okay, so I'm going to close this out, and I'm not going to save. Don't worry, guys. I already saved you project files, so you will have the project files. So they'll be in the link in the description. So don't freak out about that. We're just going to move on to the next example. And in this next example, we're going to be covering the JVThread. So let's go ahead and do a new application. Bear with me here, guys. I may have to move my IDE around to make sure you guys can see everything. So let's go ahead and make this kind of short, a little smaller bit of a form there. And the caption of said form is going to be JVThreadTimer, or actually, this is not a timer, this is a thread. So JVThread example. Okay, so now we're going to do JVThread. There's the thread we need. And then we're going to grab ourselves a button and a progress. So let's go ahead and do that. And there's a progress bar corresponding to the button. Let's go ahead and make the button line up with it. Put it right up against it. Drag it on over. Make it look pretty. Put this right here. Let's go to Project Options. We're going to theme it real fast. So just bear with me here, guys. I'm trying to make this video as quick as possible, with as much explanation as possible. This stuff is so simple. I don't think it requires too much explanation. It's so basic. You guys totally will get this pretty easily. We are going to be talking about gracefully closing out applications with this stuff as well. So just bear with me. In the last step, I'm going to show you guys on the last example how to gracefully close this stuff out. I'm actually not error handling or doing any checking on these, but in the last one we're going to. So for this theme, let's just use like dark outlet or something. I don't know, whatever. So there's dark outlet. At least we got a little theme going on there. And then we're going to change the caption of the button to start. So start, all caps. And now we can go ahead and proceed. You bet your ass I wish to proceed. Okay, so on this, you'll notice that we have the threading component. And here, I'll pull this down so you guys can see what it's called. JVThread1. Leave everything here on default because, actually, come to think of it, I think you might want to turn this off. So yeah, make sure the run on create is falsified, as we definitely don't want that happening on create. And then the other two is free on terminate and exclusive. Make sure these are true. This will be the exclusive thread, and this will be the free on terminate thread. So make sure those are true, and that's false, okay? Now what we'll do is head over to our events, and we're going to take a quick gander. So you just have to kind of understand like what starts the thread and what finishes the thread or completes the thread. And as you can see, it's pretty basic to understand. There's an onExecute event procedure and an onFinish procedure. And then there's an onFinish_all procedure, which this would be like if you have like subsequent threads created by this thread, I believe. Like like this thread creates a pool of other threads or something like that. Maybe it would like wait for them all to finish. I'm not really sure what that is, but we're just going to be using the onExecute and the onFinish, okay? So the onExecute will do the threading and all the workload, and then the onFinish obviously is when the thread gets completed and it terminates itself and finishes out and frees itself from memory, then something can happen. So we're going to go to the button code. So let's start with the button code. Now, you guys already know the story here. We're going to do set the progress bar position to 0. So self.progress bar 1.position will be equal to 0. And then we're going to disable the button. Self.button1.enabled is equal to false. Now we need to set up our thread and start it. So we're going to go self.jvthread1. And we're going to do the thread name. So let's set up the thread name, and we'll just make that equal to process it or whatever. Even though I'm not even going to call the thread name, I could just leave that completely blank or nothing at all and not even write that line of code. But I want you guys to know it does exist if you need to do any research, like say you had like that thread name and you want to specifically call it by that thread name as somewhere in your code, you can do so. The option is there. Self.jvthread jvthread1 and then we're just going to do execute, and it needs a pointer. I'm just going to type self in here for form 1. It just executes from the form. So, or actually it executes from itself, because that's a pointer to self. So that's it. That's how you start this up, okay? So position to 0, disable the button, give it a name on the thread name, and then execute the thread, and it's that simple, okay? So the thread is now running. So the onExecute event will now fire, and the thread will be processed. So on the thread execute procedure, we're going to go ahead and make us a variable here. So let's make a variable, and let's just call this new position, and this is going to be a type of integer. This is for the progress bar's position, okay, guys? So while progress bar 1.position is less than 100, we're going to do some stuff. So we're going to begin sleep. We're going to sleep for let's just do 500, half a second. Seems good to me, right? Control D, make it look pretty. And we're going to come back down here and we're going to put new position is equivalent to progress bar 1.position plus 10, because we're going to step it by 10, right? If new position is greater than or equivalent to 100, then we're going to do begin. And we're going to do new position colon equals 100, and then the JVThread.terminate. It's going to be JVThread1.terminate. And then, so if it's at 100%, we're going to terminate the thread, okay? Now down here, I'm going to be writing a synchronize event. I found out that with this threading component, it doesn't work so good if you don't synchronize. So we actually do have to call a synchronize event to be able to make this happen. So we have to say tthread.synchronize, and it's going to be nil, and then whatever we would like for our thing. And I think you have to put an end here if I'm not mistaken. So we'll do that, and also don't forget to put an ending semicolon. So we're going to synchronize, and we're going to put procedure, and then down in here we're going to do begin. So now we have our own synchronized procedure that's written up, okay? So inside of this, we're going to put in update progress bar. And then we're going to use new position as an integer to update that progress bar with. Now, you might be a little confused because what the hell is this? Well, we're about to code that. So copy that, go up above this procedure, and just type in procedure. And we're going to use update progress bar with a position, which is an integer. And then we're going to do it like this. So we call this, and we're passing the new position integer, which is inside of the thread. But we're synchronizing it with the GUI, so we're passing that value up here so that this thing can make the progress bar move. Okay, so we're going to say form1.progressbar1.position is equal to position, and it's that simple. And that position is right here, okay? The one that was passed by the thread during the synchronization process. Okay, so now what we have to do is one last step, and that is to finish it off. So in the thread's finish event procedure, you go here, and you type in self.button1.enabled is equal to true, and that's it. We're done. Now we can go ahead and try to run the program and see if it works. So let's go to position, just to make sure that the position of the form is in the center of the desktop before I run it. So if I run this program, let's take a look and see what it does. So I'll click on start. It's disabled. Looks like it's not working. Let's try to take a peek here and see what we've done that might be wrong. Let's go back to start real quick. And let's hop down to position. Looks like I did execute it. It might end up being something to do with the theme. 1 second here, guys. So guys, the problem is simply this, okay? You remember this run on create thing? Generally, whenever an application creates components, when they get created, an event happens. This was the problem. Make sure you don't have this false. It's actually supposed to be true, which is ridiculous. I've never seen that before. Just make sure you leave this true, because when you click the button, I guess the people that wrote the Jedi on this specific threading component, this thing doesn't even get created until you call this line of code. That's actually executing it and creating it on the form itself. That's what that line of code does. So basically, this is tantamount to saying create a thread and make it run. So if I had done this, see how I did this? I did create the thread, but I never said run the thread. We could actually turn this off and then go back into the code and say create it, and then on the next line we could say run it. But I'm not going to do that since they have the thing here anyway. So all you have to do is just make sure run on create is equal to true. And now if you'll watch what happens, I'll run this real fast here. So let's click start. And then as you can see, it does progress the bar. You can move it around. It's perfect. It's a background thread worker. It's great. It works like a charm. And that's all there is to it, guys. So now we're going to proceed on to the next example, which is going to be a JVThreading timer. So I'm going to close this out. Here, I'll run it one more time just so you guys can see what it does. I'm going to start it. I'm going to move it around. It's perfect. It works. The background thread works perfect. 100%. It's amazing. All right, so I'm going to close that out, and then I'm not going to save it. Don't worry, I've already got the project saved for you guys. You can find the link in the description if you want to download all these. That's perfectly fine. I'm going to go to a new Windows VCL form application, and now we're going to work with a JVThreadTimer. And then we're going to do the advanced one right after that. So, again, let's make the same thing. So let's do a button, and let's do a progress bar. So there's your progress bar. I'm going to put this over here, put this up here, make this nice and tidy, make the caption on this start, and then we'll drag this up and make it look okay. So now we're going to try grabbing a threaded timer. I guess it's called JVThreadTimer. There it is right there. It's like an hourglass looking thing, a thread timer. All right, and you can leave its priority to normal and everything defaulted. It's not necessary to change anything with this one. So now then what we'll do is let's take a quick look at the actual threader itself, the threading timer. Let's click on it to select it and go into events. And as you can see, this is this only has one event. It's just a timer. So yeah, there you have it. So let's just go ahead and get started with the programming. So again, guys, we're going to set the position of the progress bar to 0 and the button disabled, right? So self.progressbar1.position is going to be equal to 0. Self.button1.enabled is equal to false. And then we're going to come on down and set up the thread timer and run it. Self.threadTimer, JVThreadTimer.thread. Looks like this one doesn't need a thread name or anything like that, so I think it will be safe to say we can just enable the timer and be done with it. So let's go ahead and do that. Self JVThreadTimer.enabled is equal to true, and that's all there is to it. So now we've set up the progress bar to 0, the button is disabled so it won't be clickable, the thread timer is going to start ticking in the background. So on the thread timer, let's go ahead and go to the event of the thread timer itself, and we're going to deal with this. So make a variable called new position as an integer, and then we're going to say new position is going to be equivalent to progress bar 1.position plus 10, I believe. We want to step it by 10, so let's do 10. If I can type correctly, and then we're going to do if new position is greater than or equal to 100, then we'll just go begin, and let's control D that out, make it look a little nicer. So if the position is greater than or equal to 100, which means the progress bar should be full by this point, we're going to say new position colon equals 100. So that like that, and then we're going to say JVThreadTimer1.enabled colon equals false. And that should be it. Now, what we're going to have to do, and I found out with this threading timer, you have to synchronize with it, otherwise it just doesn't do it. It just doesn't do a good job. So we have to do tthread.synchronize, and then we'll do nil, and then we'll come down. This can be end, like this. We're going to have to make our own procedure, so just type in procedure, begin, and now we can start writing code inside of our own synchronized procedure inside of the JVThreadTimer or whatever. So in this, we're going to make our own synchronized procedure to update the position of the progress bar, and we're going to do a little twist this time. Because I found a little something I'd like to show you guys about booleans in Delphi. So focus up. I'm going to put in update progress bar and button. So we're going to do updating the progress bar and the button at the same time, which is really cool. And we're going to do new position. I'll just do that. And then put a comma, not, meaning if it's not JVThreadTimer1.enabled. Now, I'm going to explain this, but first we're going to finish the code. So let's copy this and paste this up here. So I'm going to paste this in, and we're going to put, sorry guys, we're going to put that, and then we're going to put the position, which is going to be an integer type. Then we're going to put button enabled as a boolean, like that. And then we're going to do like this. So let me copy this, make sure that we do like this, and then procedure, like that. And there you have it. Now we have a procedure that's going to update the position of the progress bar and enable the button true or false. So let me explain this. If the JVThreadTimer is enabled true or false, the true or false Boolean value matches the button's situation. See what I mean? So when the timer is disabled, we can actually, because we put timer1.enabled, which means if it's ever disabled, this will switch the flag to true, because it's already going to be falsified when the timer goes out. So here, let's just continue and I'll show you what it does, okay? So we're going to put in here form1.progressbar1.position is going to be equivalent to position. And that's the same position as this, so I'll just make sure that's pasted, and then we'll go form1.button1.enabled property is going to be equivalent to button enabled, which we pass through based on whether or not the timer is enabled or disabled. Pretty cool, right? So at this point, guys, I do believe we're finished. Let's go ahead and pop on back to the main graphical interface, pop this up a little bit, and let's go ahead and rename the caption of the main form. We're going to call this JVThreadTimer example, and then we're going to see what we see. I'm going to pull this out a little bit, make the button a little longer, and make sure that the position of the main form is indeed showing up in the center of the screen. So there we have it. It's in the center of the screen. We're going to run this, and we're going to see if it actually works. So at this point, we're just going to, here, I'll tell you what, before we do anything else, let's give it a skin, because I forgot to do that in the beginning, and I hate looking at this basic white crap. Okay, here we go. So let's do aqua graphite, just because it looks nice and snazzy, right? And then we're going to give it a run. Give it a run for its money. Let's see what happens. Click start, and then as you can see, it's filling up, and it doesn't affect the graphical interface. You can still touch it and move it around real nice and smooth. It's working perfectly in the background, and as you can see, it does work. So there you have it. Start it again just to show you. You can drag it around, you can move it, blah 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 blah. It doesn't cause any lag, no delay, no nothing. It's absolutely perfection. And once the progress bar is filled, the thread closes and terminates itself, the timer ends, and the button re-enables. But I just wanted you guys to understand that one part, like, because I wrote it a little weird. Like I put not JVTimer1 enabled, meaning that if the JVTimer is disabled, then it's going to pass true through as the button enabled boolean. So as soon as the JVTimer goes dead and the thread frees itself and stuff like this and that, then the button enabled will be true. You see? I hope you guys get that. But that's pretty much it for this example. So here, I'll run it one last quick time. I'll click start. And as you can see, it does work. The thread is in the background working, and it does all the stuff for you. If you want to watch the thread in real time, you can go to your task manager and enable the threading, like the thread count on there, and you can watch it. If you click the start button, you'll actually see the thread pop up extra in your task manager, and you can watch it as it creates and dies. It's pretty cool. But anyway, all right, so that's that. And now we're going to move on to the next and last final program example. So we're going to close all this. We're not going to save changes. And again, don't freak out, guys. I've already saved it for you. You guys can download all these projects for free in the description. I'll either put it on Mega or MediaFire, one or the other. So I'm going to create a new form, and we're going to be using multiple threads in this next example. So really, really try to focus up here, guys. This is really simple stuff, but we are going to be using the Jedi library to accomplish this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create two progress bars, 1 and 2. And I'm going to drag these on over here. And now I'm going to grab 2 buttons. Now we could do more, we could do as many as we like, but I'm just trying to keep this really simple for everybody. I did not mean to do that. Okay, so that's that. And then we need a button again for this one. And there you have it. So let's go ahead and name this start. And at this point, go ahead and drag this on over. We're going to go ahead and skin it because I'm not going to forget this time till the end. So once this pops up, we'll go to appearance and we'll give it a nice, pretty looking skin or whatever, right? So there's aqua, and this time we're not going to use aqua. I'm actually going to look around this time. Hang on a minute. Just bear with me here, guys. Let's do sapphire. Ooh, there's ruby graphite. There we go. This one's on fire, right? And this is going to be the big badass one, right? All right, so on the caption of the form, let's change that to JVMTThread example. And then on this, we're going to go ahead and we're going to make a label. So grab ourselves a label, throw it down, change its font size. So let's change that to at least 12 or 16 or something. I'll put it to 12 first to see what it looks like. Yeah, that's big enough, good, close enough. So then on the caption of that, we're going to put active threads and a 0 count because nothing's going on in the beginning anyway, right? Leave it like that, and then we will go ahead and proceed. So that looks decent enough, I suppose. And we're going to need our threading components. So let's right-click on this and go to JVM. Jesus Christ. I got so much stuff installed, it's hard for me to find what I'm looking for. That's just sad. All right, so here's what we need. We need, first of all, I'm going to explain a couple of things to you guys, all right? This is the component in question that the gentleman asked me to, basically show you guys and show you how it works. However, this component is part of the Jedi Threading library, and it's made to be controlled inside of a thread pool. So it has to have a corresponding threading manager in order to work. Now the thread manager is right here. It's called a TJvMTManager or T manager. So we're going to put that on there too. Okay. Now let me make this very, very clear. I'm going to pull this down so you guys can see this. What we do is you have the manager that's basically the master controller for all the threads, right? Then we're going to have as many threads as we want. In this case, we're going to have 1, 2, right? So we're going to grab another one and toss it down here, and that's going to be 2 threads. I'm going to pull this down a little bit where we can at least see what we're doing. So this thing right here controls this one and this one, and however many more you want. This thing controls them, okay? So what we're going to essentially do here, just you can click on this and learn a little bit about it. You can go to events. It doesn't have any, so that's great. That's actually perfect because that makes it even easier because you just know you call JVMManager1 dot and then whatever you want it to do. And these are actual threads. So you can look at them and say, oh, do they run on create? Do they do any of this stuff? And in this case, guys, the run on create actually works like it's supposed to, so leave it falsified. But on these, you go to events, and you can see it has its own manager property event. It's got on execute, on finished, and on the process of terminating the thread. So what we're going to do is select this one and give it the manager. So we're going to assign its manager to MTManager1 or whatever, and we're going to do the same with this one. So now both of these are now children controlled by this person here, this thing here, right? The manager. So now what we'll do is we're going to basically essentially start programming. So the same thing we've done in all of our other stuff, guys, really basic stuff. Just click on the first start. The button 1 corresponds to progress bar 1. The button 2 corresponds to progress bar 2, right? So what we're going to do is say self.progressbar1.position is equal to 0 to reset it. And then self.button1.enabled will be false, okay? Now we want to say self.jvmthread1.run, and it's that simple. We just started the thread. And then we're going to make a public variable for the entire application to keep up with the thread count called active threads, and it's an integer, okay? So we're running that thread, and we're saying active threads is going to be equivalent to active threads. Hang on a second here, guys. I'm going to do control space because I want to make sure this is spelled right. Okay, so active threads is equal to active threads plus 1. And now we're going to say label1.caption is equal to active threads. And then we're going to go plus into str self.activeThreads. And I'll just take the self part out to keep it simple. There you have it. So now that's it. We've set up the progress bar to be at 0 position. The button's disabled. We've created and ran our thread, and we've set up the active threads to be plus byte 1 and then shown on the label. And that's that. So now when this thread runs, it goes to its on execute event procedure right here. So now we're inside of the thread, and now we got to code the thread code. So whenever the thread runs, we're going to put while, let's just do while progress bar 1.position is not equivalent to 100, do begin. Okay, so we're going to sleep to make it animate, or make it give the appearance that this is an animated change. So we're going to say sleep for 500, and then we're going to say JVMTThread 1 dot check for terminate, and then we're going to and believe it or not, guys, we're not going to focus on this. I'm going to comment this line out. I'm going to explain to you why this line is important here in a minute, or I'm going to let you watch like a big mistake happen. Okay, so progress bar 1 dot position is going to be equivalent to progress bar 1 dot position plus 10, because we're going to step it up by 10, right? Okay, great. So there you have it. And that's quite literally pretty much it. So now whenever we want this to finish, so on finished, we've got to do something here. So we've got to re-enable the button. So self dot, here, let's just do button one dot enabled is true. And then we're going to decrease self dot active threads, so it decreases by 1. And then we're going to say label one dot caption is going to be equal to active threads plus int string. And then we're going to do self.active threads. And that's all there is to it. Okay, we're done here, guys. I'm not going to save that. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, so that's the code. And I'll go over this again. But before I do that, we're going to copy all the code from this one into the second one so that we're just completely finished. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to the start button here. We're going to copy all these lines. Just copy them. Now go to button 2 and double click to go to the code, paste. Change all of these to number 2. Okay, so progress bar 2, button 2, thread 2, and that's it. Okay, so now whenever the thread 2 goes to on execute, we need to be copying from the other on execute of this thread. So we're going to copy from begin all the way to end, copy that, and then come down here and paste it to this one. And then we're going to change the progress bar 1 to 2. And we're also going to change this to 2 and then this to 2. And that's that. Now we're going to save. Now we got, well, I'm not going to save this one, I guess. But so once we've done all that, we have to also do the finished. So go to the on finished. And we're going to just copy the other finished one. So find this finished code, these 3 lines of code. Copy and paste. And then change these numbers to their corresponding correct ones. So button 2, and then decrement that, and then there you have it. So that's pretty much it. So now if I was to try and run this and just see what happens, if I run this program and I go start, there's 2 active threads. They're both, hammering away at it, and then one of them finishes, then the other one finishes. Okay, it's great, looking great. Let's set up the project here. Let's go to the position and make sure that this is going to show in the center of the screen, first of all. So now when I run it, at least it shows up here so you guys can see. Now I'm going to show you guys something right now, okay? If I start these and I try to close the program, notice how nothing happens? It stopped the threads, but now my program is, see that? See that? That's not good. We don't want that. So what happens is we need to set up some stuff for the on-close event procedure of the form. So whenever we make the form close itself, let's check this out. If we go to on-close, so when if the user of the program is trying to close the program, we want to say terminate all threads and gracefully allow the program to close itself out. So we're going to say self.JVMTThread Manager 1, which has all the power in the world over everything in this whole thing. Like the MT manager, the multi-thread manager has access and power over all the threads that are under it as children, right? So we're going to go terminate threads, and that's it. It's one simple line of code. We're just going to terminate all the threads so that the program can close properly. However, I'm going to show you this because this is not going to work. So if we run this, because the graphical interface main VCL thread is doing the calling convention for making that thing right here kill everything, it's still not going to work. Watch, I'm going to try these. And if we wait a little bit, try to close, you see how both are still there? They're closed, like the threads are actually deactivated right now, but it's froze and we're going to get problems. You see that? You see how it's still screwed up? So I'm going to let this program die. So the problem is that even though you tell this manager to close all threads and terminate them all, it notifies them, like it does its job. It notifies them, hey, I need you to die. Hey, I need you to die. It does that, okay? But the problem is, in the code, you have to be able to make sure that the thread itself is looking at itself and saying, hey, am I terminated? Because if so, I need to notify the main VCL, and I need to completely come out of memory. So to do this, inside of your code, inside of the thread, you have to put at some place or another, and I chose to do it inside my while loop, just because I know that's the only thing that's happening anyway. I say, look, take yourself and check yourself for termination. I'm saying, look at your own thread, because you're yourself, right? And I'm saying, look, see if you're freaking terminated, right? So I'm just selling it, check for terminate. So now when I run the program, and hey guys, sorry for the stutter, for the video stutter. I found a problem in the code that was a little bit extensive, and I'd like to show you my findings. So basically, when we run the program, I'm going to show you what it looks like when it's running perfectly like it's supposed to. You can start as many threads as you like or whatever, and it'll say their thread count and all this and that, and it'll properly update and synchronize, and look, I can drag it around and nothing happens. It's absolutely perfection. And you can also close it while the threads are running and nothing happens. It's perfect. But let me close this again, and you'll see it close perfectly. But the problem is, in multi-threading, like in any language pretty much, when a thread completes, it's in a finished state. Now, you can programmatically reset the state, but it's well, actually, really, you can't. It's kind of like when a thread is finished, it's finished. I mean, you're not essentially going to restart the exact same thread. You're just not going to do it. So what I found was in the code, instead of doing .run here, see, this does .run. See this now? I'm gonna let you guys take a gander at this. So if I do run here, so I'm just running one single thread of each. So if I run this here, you're going to see what happens, okay? Whenever I run this, and I'll go ahead and run both of them, the thread works just fine. Everything is 100% coded, it works. But if I try to start these again, you're going to get errors, because it can't run because the thread is not initializing or waiting. That's because it's in a finished state. So you see how I click on that and I get an error? And no matter what I do, I can never restart these threads. So it's best if you, I actually found a little thing. The Jedi people were nice enough to write us a little procedure called run copy. So what this does is copies everything this thread is about to do, all of its code, all of its procedures, and everything it does, and it just makes a copy and runs it. How cool is that? So check this out, run copy. So whenever we want, we can click on run here, and now the application works as intended with no changes to the code, except that one line, and that's it, and boom, it works. How cool is that, right guys? You can't beat it, right? I do find that having to do that is a little bit meh for me. I don't personally use components to do multi-threading stuff. I just write T-threads by myself. I just find it like more advanced, but also at the same time, I've memorized how to do it. It's just really, really simple. You can do it in free Pascal and Delphi, and it's just really basic and easy to do. But yeah, this is still really cool though. Here, I'll close that out and pull this on up. Now it looks a lot better that way. So, so guys, this is the perfect example of a multi-threading application with a thread pool in the background. And remember, the thread pool is the thread manager. Now you can extend on this and make the thread manager not just stop the threads, but you can also make it spawn new threads of these. You can also make it spawn threads within threads, I believe, and you can also make it start and stop them, as well as send and receive data to and from them. There's a lot of different things you can do with it. I just haven't done it in this example, but I do want to really quickly, I'll run this one more time just to let you guys see the end result. You can find the download links in the description for all of these, by the way. I know I've said that like 100 times already, but this is how it works. It's perfect. The graphical interface does not get messed up in any way, shape, or form. It's perfection. So there's that. And I'll do this again when I click on these. You can actually interrupt it at any time and close the program. It instantly terminates the threads and gracefully closes the program, or allows the program to close and send the Windows message of, I'm closing or whatever to Microsoft Windows, and then it closes out the form in the application. But the thing is, I wanted to show you guys a bonus thing. So let me close this out. I'm not going to save. So let me show you these. This is a website. It's mitov.com/free_downloads. There's a threading suite right here that's completely free. Like, it doesn't have a license on it at all, like as far as a paid license. It's completely free. So do you need to write a multi-threaded application? Are you annoyed at writing lines and lines of code? Blah, blah, blah. We make it easy. Enjoy. That's basically what it amounts to. And these things are really cool. And I'm gonna try to show you. Let me just pull this up real quick. Let me pull open my everything application here and go to this and do a search for TJvMD BMDthread.dcu. Let me go down to Athens components, open path. This is going to be the demos folder, and I'm going to go into Athens because that's what I'm running, and then I'm going to open this up for you guys and let you see kind of what this would look like. They don't have a theme on their stuff, but they just made a simple little demo that you guys can look at. So if you go to that link, and I'll put that link in the description as well for you guys so you guys can click on it if you guys want to see this. But check this out, check this out. So what we just did with the Jedi was create basically the same thing practically, but there's a thread, and there's a thread group. The thread group is in control of any threads that are under it as children. And as you can see, if you click on these threads, you'll see that they have a thread group attached to them. You see that? So if I run this little program, and this is a demo that I did not write, so just bear with me here, guys. But if I click on start, it says that thread 1 is running, and it's instantly updating this. And look, you can drag this around, and there's literally no delay. The worker thread is working perfectly in the background. And then you can start number 3, and then they're both running at the same time. And thread 2 is currently running, but thread 1 is also running in the background. Whoever wrote this demo did not do a very good job. They should have made something down here extra to say, hey, they're both running, but they didn't do it. But if you click stop all, the thread group manager tells both threads to stop. And as you can see, it both stops right there. Stop, stop, start, start, stop. Pretty cool stuff, right? And if you look at this, you can see that the code is very basic, very super simple. It's got like a synchronization events for stuff if you want to synchronize like something like a label's caption with the value of the data that you're passing through the threading components and stuff like that. Also, one thing I really like about these is if you double click on them, it gives you your very own editor for synchronization methods and notify events. So if you wanted to synchronize something with data, you would click the button, and it instantly gives you the ability to name whatever you want to call this thing. So I want to say update the GUI or whatever, right? And then over in the code window, it automatically codes it for you. So you can just start programming right here. And then inside of the thread, you would just call synchronize update the GUI, and it's that simple. So like down below here, he does, I believe this guy does a thread.synchronize right here. You just do thread.synchronize, and then you call your event. And if your event has data inside of it, which is a pointer, then you can pass that data parameter there and pass the pointer for whatever type of data you're trying to push into it, and it just automatically does it for you. Pretty cool stuff, right? So anyway, I just wanted you guys to see that. That these components do exist, and they're BMD threads. To get them installed, these are the two components right here, and they're really easy to install. All you have to do is here. I'll just show you guys real quick. If you go to view source, or I'm sorry, not view source. What am I doing? I must be smoking. You just go to BMD thread, and I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to file. Close everything, do not save, and then I'm going to show you guys how to install this just real quick. You just go File, Open, and you browse to this, and you just want to go into your version of Delphi, mine's 12 Athens, and open the group proj, the BMD thread group proj. And then once it opens up, all you have to do is wait, and once it comes up and opens the project, you're going to compile the project. So you want to compile the package. So the one that looks like a little boxy thing, right-click Compile, and then you're going to let that compile. Here, I'll go ahead and do it. Just let it compile, and it's done. And then come down here to this thingy and right-click and install, and that's all you have to do. Now, I've already done it, so I'm not going to click install, but all you do is click install, wait a few seconds, and it goes ding, and it shows a little window with all the stuff installed. And then you'll have these two things up here in your tabs, okay? and then you can drag and drop them just like this. Like I'll kind of throw something down here real quick. So basically you just drag them on your form, and then you can start using them. So, and then they have events, like they have on execute, they have start, like on start, on terminate, on update. Probably won't ever hardly use the update, mainly the terminate and start and execute. This is just an on start. I think this on start thing happens right before the on execute. And so you can make something happen there if you'd like prepping to start a thread or something like that. And then this right here can control all of them. So you can actually do set up the thread group here, and then you can pop down another thread and attach it to the thread group. And then you can say, like if you had a button or something, if you had like a button or something on here, you could do start all. So you could say self.bmdthreadgroup1.start, and that actually starts all the threads, every single one of the threads that's underneath it. And then these two would start and doing their work. So really cool stuff. Maybe I'll do an example project on that some other time. If you guys ask me to, I will. If not, whatever. But anyway, that's going to sum up this video. I really hope that you guys understood everything. I really hope that I was of assistance to you guys. And if you need anything else, just feel free to ask, and I'll program it up for you. These videos do take a little bit of time. I have to prep everything before I, go crazy showing you guys stuff. But again, just let me know in the video comments if you guys really enjoy this stuff, and seems like a lot of you guys are. So if you think I can do something better, let me know. If you think something can be done better, please let me know, and I'll be more than happy to try to upgrade my act, so to speak. Anyway, I'll catch you guys in the next vid. Peace out.